On the banks of the Mersey, over on Cheshire side, lies Runcorn, that's best known to fame by Transporter Bridge, as takes folks over the stream and then brings them back across same. In the days before Transporter Bridge was put up, a ferry boat lay in the slip, and old Ted, the boatman, would row folk across at per twopence per person per trip. Now Runcorn lay over on one side of the stream, and Widner's on t'other side stood, and as nobody wanted to go either place, well, trade wasn't any too good. One day, to Ted's superlative surprise, 3 customers came into view. A Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom it were, and Albert, their little son, too. "How much for 3? Mr. Ramsbottom asked, as his hand to his pocket did dip. Ted said same for 3 as it would be for 1. Per twopence, per person, per trip. "You are not charging 2pence for that little lad," said Mother, her eyes flashing wild. "Per 2pence, per person, per trip," Ted replied. "Per woman, per man or per child." "5pence for 3, that's much as I'll pay," said Father. "Let's not waste time in talk." "Per 2pence, per person, per trip," Ted replied. "And them what can't pay has to walk." "Right, we can walk and all," said Father. "Come, Mother, it's none too deep, weather's quite mild." So into the water the 3 of them stepped, the father, the mother, the child. Well, the further they paddled, the deeper it got, but they wouldn't give in once begun. In the spirit that's made Lancashire what she is, they'd sooner be drowned than done. The old folk were very soon up to their necks, and little lad clean out of sight. Pa said, "Where's Albert?" And Mother replied, "I've got hold of his hand, he's all right." Just at that moment, Pa got an idea, and floundering back to old Ted, said, "We've walked halfway. Come, take us rest for half price. That's penny a head." But Ted wasn't standing for none of that there, and making an obstinate lip, "Per 2pence, per person, per trip," he replied. "Per trip or per part of per trip?" "All right," said Father. "Well, let me take the boat. I'll pick up the others halfway. I'll row 'em across and I'll bring the boat back. And 3pence in bargain I'll pay." It were money for nothing. Ted answered, "Right-o." So Father took hold of the sculls. With sharp-ended boat to the middle of the stream, he were there in a couple of pulls. He got Mother out. It were rather a job. With water she weighed 1/2 ton. Then shoving the oar down the side of the boat, started fishing around for his son. When poor little Albert came up to the top, his collar was soggy and limp, and with holding his breath at the bottom so long, his face was as red as a shrimp. Well, Pa rowed him across, and he took the boat back, and he said to old Ted on the slip, "Wilt row me across by myself?" Ted said, "Aye." Per 2pence, per person, per trip." When they got to the side, Father laughed fit to bust, 'cause he'd got best at bargain, you see. He'd worked it all out, and he got his own way, and he'd nobbut paid 5p for 3.